What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome to my vlog. And so I'm going to be doing another topic that was kind of prompted, inspired a little bit by the movie I Can Only Imagine, but it's way less directly related to it. So if you were avoiding the last video because of spoilers or anything like that, you probably don't need to do that with this one. So, this time, really, I kind of want to just talk about the general idea of stories, like personal stories. Everybody has some kind of personal story. You know, there are things that they've gone through, whether good or bad. And a lot of times, if you're just coming into, you know, a certain place or a certain group of people or whatever the situation might be, you know, there could be a lot of stuff going on, a lot of kind of background stories that have led those people to this point that you don't know about and can easily cause some otherwise unknown issues, frustrations, problems, things like that. Because a lot of people has, I guess, baggage of a sort. I would take the example of, you know, the father in the movie I Can Only Imagine as kind of the baggage example because of, you know, the unfulfilled dreams and just other complications and things going on in his life that have made him kind of a bitter person in a way. Of course, that's not, you know, it's more complicated than that. But I'm trying not to be too specific this time around, you know, avoiding the whole spoiler thing. But like I said, a lot of people have baggage. They have things that have happened in their life that either they regret or something that happened to them or that they caused that, you know, is kind of a dark spot in what might be an otherwise, you know, joyful, happy life. Now, what we do with this baggage, I think, or with these things that happen to us, is where I think a lot of people differ. And I think it's, I don't know, it kind of makes the key distinction between whether it winds up being whatever this baggage is, whether it winds up being a good thing or a bad thing. Some people, the way they'll respond to what's going on in their life is they'll just run. They'll run, they'll hide, they'll try to just get away from whatever's going on in their life. And, you know, it could be, I mean, it could be a good initial response, you know, if somebody's going through some sort of abuse or, you know, there's just a really unhealthy thing going on in their lives. That can be a good kind of early initial response to it, but at the same time, I don't think that's good long term because you can only run so far before you get tired. And it really starts to wear on you, whether we're talking literally or hypothetically. And, you know, just trying to hide what happens and sort of suppress it and not really talk about it or let it out in the open or anything like that. That also tends to just have it weigh on your mind more so as well. Because there's no resolution to it then if you don't talk about it or do something that confronts the problem or just, yeah. So long term, the whole run, hide kind of response to it's not something you really want to go with. Again, sometimes initially it can be a good thing, especially if you're like literally physically escaping a dangerous situation, then sure, fine. But the fact of the matter is, you know, as we look back on our lives, the past always affects us in some way. It's not like we just totally forget about what's happened, especially for really big things. But we kind of get to choose how it affects us. What I mean by that is the same kind of thing that will, for one person, it'll scar them for life. It'll leave them, really much less able to deal with people or to build relationships or do a whole bunch of other things the way that they really should be able to. They walk around kind of just with a chip on their shoulder and damaged. I'm going to air quote damaged. Sometimes it is physical damage, but really that same kind of almost demotivator for one person can to someone else be motivation to say, you know what, this thing happened to me. I hate the fact that it happened to me, but I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else. And so, stuff like that oftentimes is how you get certain charities being founded, or, a lot of these groups and organizations that are designed, to help stop certain just bad things that happen. There's always the potential for something good to come out of even the worst of situations. But it all just really depends on how we respond to it. I'm not going to say that it's wrong to feel bad about something that happened, or to, feel shame or regret or guilt or whatever it might be. There's a season and a time for that. And I think oftentimes that can be part of the process of moving on and turning it from a demotivator into a positive motivating factor in your life and your story. And so, really, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make for this baggage that they carry, for these, backstories that they have when coming into new situations, especially, is people will often tend to just not communicate. They'll try to run away from something and try to, get a fresh start, so to speak. I air quote that just because that's the cliched kind of Hollywood thing. I'm gonna, move out of this town and go start a new life and get a fresh start and pretend like none of this stuff that happened before is a thing. And hopefully I'll just forget about it then. That's kind of the cliched bad response. Really, I think every story should be told in some way. There should at least be somebody that knows what you've gone through and just, kind of the backstory of what brought you to where you are. And especially for the bad things that have happened in your life that you're maybe kind of trying to run away from, having someone there to help you think through it, console you if need be, and also kind of maybe help you sort through how to move on from that. Because otherwise, it just stays there in your head, and it weighs down on you, and, you're carrying this extra weight on your baggage for years and years and years, and it might seem to kind of make you stronger in a sense, but when it all piles up on top, and you just kind of let things build up more and more and more, you just kind of break down eventually. So probably the best first step in, moving on from whatever might be weighing you down is to just tell somebody about it. Again, I'll just say that every story should be told. to someone. And if you're the person that's listening to someone else's story, please, in the name of everything that is good and decent in the world, don't just brush it off. It's just because it doesn't seem like a big deal to you. You don't know, I mean, until they tell you, you don't know a person's full backstory and how much a certain thing has affected them and how much they've let it weigh down and pile up. And you just don't know until you hear about it. So don't just brush something off because you think it's insignificant if you're listening to someone else, pouring their heart out and telling you their story, or just saying what's going on, or even just anything in general that, is affecting someone negatively. Because, again, that kind of stuff is how we end up with, I mean, not to put it lightly, but there are a lot of times when people will try to seek these outlets for these things that are weighing them down, and they tell people about what's going on, but then everybody around them just brushes it off, and so it feels like nobody cares, and ultimately that person gets trapped inside their own head, and it just comes to a boiling point where they feel like nobody cares at all about them. What's the point? And sometimes, not to put it lightly, but sometimes that is a significant cause of people committing suicide. So, again, please, do not just brush off somebody else's story when they're, talking about something that's troubling them. Or even just something that they feel is wrong, period. It doesn't even have to be about them personally. Don't just brush aside something that somebody else cares about, okay? We're all made for different purposes, different reasons, and to tell different stories. And so if we don't acknowledge the significance of someone else's story and the fact that God made them a certain way and has given them a certain life, that, there's something that can come out of that, having some sort of significant feeling to your life is a big, big factor in, feeling satisfied and having an ultimately kind of happy life that you can feel like you've contributed something or that your life had some sort of purpose. But again, it's just big point. Every story should be told to someone or another, because if a person feels like they can't talk to somebody about what's going on or what has gone on in their lives, then it's easy to feel trapped, helpless, like your life has no meaning. And it's part of what drives us, feeling like we're moving forward with our lives and not backwards, and we're not just stuck in the same old thing all the time. So anyway, yeah, that's going to do it this time around. So, as always, like, share if you enjoyed, subscribe to my channel, ring the little bell thing to get notifications when I put stuff up on YouTube. You can follow me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All that's going to be down in the description. Right below that, you can leave a comment with your thoughts on this video, other things you want me to talk about. That about does it. So, I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully, this will motivate some people to get talking a little bit more about their stories and what's gone on in their lives. Or maybe it will motivate someone to pay a little closer attention when other people are talking about what's going on. That's really my main hope with this video, is that this can make some sort of positive impact for some people. But anyway, that's going to do it. So again, hope you're all doing well, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Stay cool, people.